What is going on, everyone? Wade here. Today we're talking about the pin. Last week we talked about the fork. If you haven't seen that yet, go and check it out, do the exercises, and then come back and check this one out. Same deal with last week. We're talking about the pin. We're going to go through the exercises. They're linked down below in the description. You can check them out over on Lead Chess and practice them to get them right. So a pin is a tactic that you use when you want to restrict your enemy. What you do is you place a piece on the board that it attacks another piece, but also attacks the piece behind it if that piece were to move. There are two types of pins. There's relative and there's absolute. An absolute pin is where your piece is attacking one piece and it's also attacking the king right behind it. Now what that means is that piece is not going to be able to move and the king behind it will have to get out of the way, or they'll have to find a way to get rid of your piece. A relative pin is where you're attacking a piece and there's a more valuable piece behind it. If the piece moves, you get to take the valuable piece behind. Quick tip, you need to be mindful of pins that they can do on your forces as well. A pin might not feel like much, but over time, when they start adding more and more pressure to the pin piece, that's when we start having trouble. Speaking of pin pieces and pressure, if you do happen to pin a piece and you can add more pieces to that attack, you're going to have a good time. Now, just a quick note, thank you everyone who's subscribed so far. We're at 88 subscribers, really makes me happy and I really appreciate the support. If you haven't subscribed and you want to see more content like this, feel free to hit subscribe and feel free to leave me a comment below. Let's go over some examples of pins. Okay, so let's start with the very basic pin. The knight, the king are on the same file, and if white moves their rook over, it's going to attack the knight. The king is behind it. This is an absolute pin, and the knight can no longer move. So the knight, if the knight moves, the rook's going to come down and take the king. Therefore, it's not allowed to move. Here we have a different situation. Now we've got the relative pin. The knight can move. However, the rook is going to take the queen. We don't need to always pin high value pieces. Here, the bishop moves, pins the pawn to the king. This pawn can no longer move up the board because the bishop will come through. So in order to do that, white is going to have to waste a move, moving their king, so now the pawn can actually move. So remember to be very careful when you are playing. Here's a position where the knight moves out to develop, and black takes advantage by putting the knight in a pin. The knight cannot move now. If it does, the rook will be taken. If we go back a few moves and we look at it, a better option would be to bring the knight to a different square. That way, this pin is no longer an issue. Very careful when playing these positions that you don't walk into a position where you can allow yourself to be pinned. Here in this position, white moves their knight backwards. The bishop is attacking the queen. Now the queen can't take the bishop because the king will recapture. However, can you see a way that black can do a pin? If you saw bishop to h3, well done, that is correct. The bishop moves to h3, creating a pin. Now the bishop can no longer take the queen. The bishop instead takes the other bishop here, and then the queen comes in for checkmate. And there we have it. Don't forget to check out the Lead Chess study below. You'll be able to practice the pins and get used to them, apply them to your game and keep winning, and I'll see you next time.